Night one with Jaren Jackson Jr. was real and spectacular. It's next on Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We are free and available on all podcasting apps, including YouTube. And if you are new to Locked On Jazz because you are part of the Jaren Jackson madness, we welcome you to being a part of the show. Become an everydayer. Join us each and every day here on the program. Everydayers, you are the greatest. All right, Trends Monday, as always. We are going to look back at the open of the second half for some specific plays involving Jaren Jackson and what he did in this ball game. We will look at the impact it had on Lauri Markkanen, which was not what I thought, but it's a little different than what I thought. And overall, night one of Jaren Jackson Jr. So if you did not catch the Jazz game against Orlando the other day, probably some context to this conversation, because part of you is wondering, like, why is he so fired up they lost? So let's walk through the context of the night, just in case you were busy Saturday night, you didn't grab it, and you're not entirely sure what happened. The Jazz lost 120 to 117. But at the end of the first quarter, the Jazz were down 33-30. Jaren Jackson Jr. played 8 minutes. Lauri played 10. They started kind of fiddling, changing rotations. Lauri had been playing kind of 6 minutes on, 3 minutes off, and then 3 minutes back on. So he's usually playing 9. He played an extra minute. Will just trying to figure it all out. And the Jazz rotation starting lineup was Keyonte George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson, Jusuf Nurkic. That's where Walker Kessler would fit, with Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Kevin Love, and John Konchar. So that was the 9-man rotation in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, Bryce Sensabaugh played the entire second quarter, came off the bench. Lauri played 8 minutes. Jackson played 7. Keyonte sprained an ankle and played less and then did not return. But the Jazz outscored the Magic 35-21. Some of it shooting variance. The Magic went 1 of 11 from 3. They're a bad three-point shooting team, and frankly, there probably could not have been a better team for the Jazz to have their Jaren Jackson debut against, because of the fact that just the way they play, and they don't have any three-point shooting, and so it really allowed, I think, the Jazz to kind of show what this iteration of them can be. So this might have been the most perfect opponent to debut. But so at halftime, the Jazz have control of this game. The Jazz lead this game 65-54, and in the third quarter, they go up 17 against Orlando. This time, Jackson plays 10 minutes. Lauri plays 8 in the third quarter, so not quite clear on that. Keyonte does not play, as I mentioned, and the Jazz get outscored 33-29. And then in the fourth quarter, the Jazz do not play Lauri Markkanen, do not play Jusuf Nurkic, do not play Jaren Jackson Jr., and instead Ace Bailey, Kyle Filipowski makes his first appearance, plays all 12, and the Jazz can't hold the lead. All right, let's walk through a few crazy things here. So that's the context of the night. Let's start the first impact. So in the first quarter, Jaren Jackson gets off 7 shots. He makes 5 of them. Right-hand hook, left-hand hook, shows 2 different finishes with the left hand around the basket and finishes with the right hand. The talent level is remarkable. That's like the first thing that jumps out. He's not perfect. If he was perfect, he'd be a top 10, 20 player in the NBA. The talent level is just incredible. The other one, which I knew from being around him this year in the past with Memphis, but seeing him before him, he's just enormous. He's just a bona fide 6'10", 240. He's just noticeably big. He's also, just one little side note, in warm-ups, I went and watched his whole warm-up. He's talking, interacting with the guys. He's having fun. He's talking a little this, a little that with the guys. So there was definitely an interaction level to him on the floor. First quarter, the Utah Jazz struggled offensively and had a defensive rating of a 114. So that's right around league average. Okay, we're 30th in the league defensively. We don't have a lot of defensive averages of 114. When Jaren Jackson was on the floor in the first quarter, our defensive rating was a 100. Noticeably different than everybody else on the roster. In the second quarter, we really clamped down. Remember, they went 1 of 11 from 3, so this can be a little skewed. But the defensive rating was a 72.4 for the quarter. And while Jaren Jackson was on the floor, the defensive rating was a 62.5. The Jazz defensive rating when Jaren Jackson was on the floor in the first half of this game was an 83.3. The other thing that's worth noting is that Orlando had 1 offensive rebound. And so while Jaren Jackson's individual offensive rebounding numbers were not good, as has been the case in his entire career, the Magic had 1 offensive rebound in that entire half. The Jazz defensive rating with Jaren Jackson on the floor was an 83.3, and as a team at the end of the first half was a 93. Remember, 115 is league average. In the third quarter, the defensive rating with Jaren Jackson on the floor was a 112.5. The team was a 110, and the Jazz had a sub-100 defensive rating on the floor with Jaren Jackson on the floor in the first 3 quarters of the game when he played. Like, that's everything we've wanted to see. This is the question. Can one man's single presence turn the worst defensive team in the league into an average defensive team? That's literally what we want to know. That's going to be the question between now and next October. And obviously Austin Ainge probably alters the roster a little bit. I would guess brings in some other defensive presence. We bring Walker Kessler back and some things of that sort. But that's the number one question, is can Jaren Jackson's existence single-handedly alter the Jazz from the worst defensive team in the league to an average defensive team? And night one, that indicator was yes. His offense was also far more proficient than I think a lot of people would expect. We saw his left-handed dribble drive game, which is very, very good. We saw his hook shots in and around the basket. We saw him driving, and we saw him go 2 for 5 from 3. And they involved him a great deal. He had 50 touches. He threw 30 passes. Lauri had 45 touches, just to kind of have a concept for you there. Nurkic had 62 touches through 52 passes. So the Jazz really kind of inverted their offense. Like, Keyonte didn't play the whole game, so it's hard to tell. Isaiah had far more touches, far more time of possession in the game. But it's an interesting little note because I think it's different than he was used. And this is the same thing that Will Hardy's done with the play of Yusuf Nurkic and engaged him in the game at a very high level by having him have these touches, have these opportunities, have these interactions with the basketball, feeling engaged. There really is something to that. And I think it changes how you view the game. So if you go back to Jaren Jackson in Memphis and how often he touched the ball, held the ball, had it, it will be interesting to see whether this is. I mean, I was stunned by how skilled he is, just with the different depth of touch, things of that nature. When he does it against you, you see it, but you don't really take it in the same way. But Jaren Jackson Jr. got 50 touches for the Jazz. It's a little more than what he averaged there. So we'll see whether or not it turns out to be considerably different or not. Like, I don't know if it's going to turn out to be greatly different than what he had, but it will be. That's what Will Hardy has done. And I think he averaged about 45, 47 touches. So it's kind of feels immaterial a little bit. And it really also has to do with front court touches is a better number if you really care about this. And his average front court touches, if I remember correctly, when I researched it, when I did the big deep dive, I don't think I mentioned on the show, but it was 30 front court touches a game for when he played for Memphis, and he was probably at about that in 3 quarters for the Jazz. He was at about the same amount of touches, 50 touches in 3 quarters in 25 minutes. So definitely an accelerated rate of touches, interactions, feeling the ball, touching it, being engaged before. I want to look at 3 plays with you coming up. I want to talk about what his impact on Lauri Markkanen was, because Lauri had a monster day. Is he creating more space for Lauri Markkanen? The answer actually is no, but he is creating something else for Lauri. Number 2, I saw something really special out of Lauri, and then we also just saw a few defensive plays from Jaren Jackson Jr. They're everything we've ever dreamed of. That's next on Locked On Jazz. The Monday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, also located in Logan. The Murdochs have been in Utah for 90-plus years, and Murdoch Chevy is Americana. And with everything you've ever wanted out of a Chevy, you can get with the Silverado and the Colorado trucks. They're just absolutely fabulous. And then the SUV lineup, the Suburban and the Tahoe, but also the Equinox and the Blazer there for you. It's all going on right now at Murdoch Chevy in Woods Cross and in Logan. And the 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab with Turbo Max engine, you get 1.9% APR. And if you're a current Chevy owner and leases, when you trade in, you can get up to $7,300 of what do they call it? Allowances. When you trade in your vehicle total value, plus you can get $10,000 in total cash allowances on the 2026 Chevy Equinox right now. So great deals over at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA and take advantage of all the great deals at Prize Picks. It's giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. It's America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play, and you just pick more or less on 2 or 6 player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you cash in. You can choose from basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, UFC, and more. Plus, they got features like early payouts, flex play. Download the app, make the NBA lineups you want, and then pick more or less on points, assists, every possession. Way more fun to watch. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. It's good to be right. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Every Dayer Club is out there for you if you're juiced and jazzed about the Jazz. Welcome. Glad to have my typeface is too small for an old guy like me. Demetrius Griggs, welcome. Austin Sims, welcome. Glad to have you guys both aboard as new members of the Everydayer Club, and you can be Everydayer All Access. Also, new member as well, Kaylin Garcia, glad to have you aboard. Kevin Michaels, super glad to have you as well. And Kyle Lewis, all have joined the Everydayer Club. Everydayer Club All Access for you. Gets you one-on-one direct interaction with me, with text messages back and forth. I'll give you various things. I threw you a thought halftime of the game the other night. Want to know what your thoughts of what you were watching was? You also get a newsletter after every show. You get 15% off in the merch store and access to the merch store, which nobody else has. Leave Two Leans bonus content for you. I'll try to get you some bonus content as well. I did last week. And draft breakdowns for you, also available. Discord access to our exclusive Discord channel. That's all for and ad-free Locked On Sports today and ad-free Locked On Jazz. That's all for $15 a month. Promo code JJJ gets you 1 month free, where you can pay annual and get 2 months free. That's JJJ promo code. Go to lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. lockedonjazz.supercast.com. You can also get the $5 a month program, which is Locked On Jazz Discord channel to be part of the best jazz community and the exclusive jazz community and Locked On Sports Today ad-free there for you. That's all at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Thank you very much. Sorry. Voice is tired from this trip. We finally get to go home at some point. Holy cow, we've been out here for a long time. All right, let's look at some plays together. I always struggle on audio on this, but I don't think it's going to matter. So let's see if I can get a few plays here out for you and figure out how to get. Why is that not showing up? All right, we're going to do this. We're going to move this little fun thing. I don't know why I have a whole screen. It wants to only show us the entire screen. So let's watch the beginning of the... Whoa. There's weird stuff going on here. Hopefully it doesn't bother you guys. I'm a little worried it does. All right, let's see if this works. Yes. All right, so I think this is working just fine. And this is the open of the second half of the game the other night. And the opening 3 plays of the second half, one, there's some great Lauri stuff here. One, you just see the impact of Jaren Jackson and everything that we hope that we would get out of him to open the ballgame. So, and we'll just watch this. First of all, they put Jaren Jackson on Paolo Banchero, who's their best player. There he is guarding him right there. They run an interchange on the far side. Ace Bailey maintains with Desmond Bane. You now have Ace Bailey at 6'9", guarding a shooting guard. And they play Paolo Banchero, isolation left side, and Jaren Jackson. And if you remember, if you listen to the defensive deep dive, Jaren Jackson is one of the 4 best isolation players in the NBA over the last 5 years. One-on-one defense in space is his strength. Banchero tries him anyway. He gives him space. He moves his feet. Banchero says, all right, bet, let's not. Bailey closes badly on Bane, and who's there but Jaren Jackson? So he can't shoot, so he's got to pass to the corner to Anthony Black, and this is where the Magic are nice because they're not particularly good shooters. 7-foot Lauri closes. They swing it around the outside. Banchero decides to drive on Bailey again because Ace doesn't close out very well again. And Jackson comes over and alters the shot, and Ace now grabs the rebound. So Jaren Jackson stops Banchero on the drive, cuts off Bane on the drive, and then alters Banchero's shot all on one play. Now, I thought this was really interesting. So the Jazz bring it up. They turn it over on a bad play by Ace. And then Suggs is trying to drive, and here is Jaren Jackson in transition defense on Anthony Black, and he might actually have a right hand on his left shoulder, which would be a foul, but Black can't get the shot off because the Jazz get back. Jaren Jackson hustles back in transition defense. He didn't sprint back in some awesome, unbelievable fashion, but he got back, and he's 6'10" with this massive reach. So the Jazz bring it up the other way. Isaiah Collier pushing. Nothing happens. Jaren Jackson gives to Lauri, or starts to go one-on-one. He's going to give it to Lauri. And for those of you on video, watch Lauri and what he does. I'll tell you on audio, don't worry. Jackson gives to Lauri, and Lauri takes his right hand and points to Jackson and says, go to the post. Now, that's kind of awesome by Lauri, right? Like, Jaren Jackson is the new guy. This has been Lauri's team. Lauri's being guarded by Wendell Carter. Lauri recognizes that Anthony Black, who's not tiny, he's 6'7", is now guarding Jaren Jackson, and he says to Jaren Jackson, go in the post, and he gives him the look and says go to work, and then Jackson with a beautiful right-hand baseline jump hook, which I cannot believe is a particularly high percentage shot, but it went in here. And the Jazz, right there, just in that sequence, very quickly, you just see a completely different offense and a completely different capability defensively than we've had at any point. It's really pretty great. And frankly, we haven't done that all year, right? We haven't had somebody stop a play, make a play, anything of that sort at all year. We've been horrific defensively, but it has largely been out of personnel. And so one of the things you wonder is whether or not when the Jazz suddenly have personnel, can they defend? And we saw a sub 100 defensive rating in the first game. All right, I want to watch one other one here, which is it did not give me what I thought it was going to give me. Oh, maybe this is the one I want. Yes, this is the one I want. So this is the end of the second quarter. And this is, again, the question of, like, Lauri Markkanen has this big day. How much was this because of Jaren Jackson Jr. that Lauri had this big day? Well, the first feeling when the game was going on is that Lauri was just getting back cuts and all sorts of room and things like that, and it was because of Jaren Jackson. It's not. I went back and watched it. Literally not one of Lauri's first half shots was related to the fact that Jaren Jackson was in the half court with him. Not a one. So that's not true. We thought that. It's not true. But this is where Jaren Jackson is creating things for Lauri, because Lauri got a bunch of transition. But here's a play again. Suggs throws an early pin down tight curl to Desmond Bane. Sensabaugh trailing. Jaren Jackson is in the middle. Banchero is on that side. So Banchero went and set a pick. Bane's curling. Bane gets the pass. Jackson slides in the middle. Bane sees Jackson. Immediately bullets a pass to Banchero on the left side. This play is working perfectly for Orlando at this point. And Jaren Jackson Jr. spins around, comes back over, and now Banchero can't get the shot off because Jackson's back defensively. And they force a turnover. It's an incredible, like, there's nothing special that Jackson does here. In fact, I might even argue his footwork's not perfect on this, but he cuts off Bane. He's all the way over at the nail. Banchero's wide open on the left side. Banchero gets it, and by the time Banchero takes one dribble, goes up in the air, Jackson is back on him. And if that's who the Jazz become defensively, that's going to change everything. Banchero turns it over. Collier leads the break. Lauri gets a dunk. And that's where Lauri Markkanen, as one of the best runners in the NBA, is getting stuff because of Jaren Jackson. Lauri's transition the other night was a ton of plays. Night one of Jaren Jackson was real and spectacular. And these are the plays of why. It's really great. If you want more of that kind of stuff and the rest, that's kind of the stuff that we'll be talking about and sending your direction over at lockedonjazz.supercast.com for the all access stuff. So we'll keep throughout the year and all that kind of stuff. So just, if you're interested in all that and you're a diehard fan and you want to be part of it and part of the Discord channel, that's the way to do it. All right, that is the excitement that we have right now. Let's go to Trends Monday next as we continue on Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. The final football game happened. Yes! Go wife and daughter. They're so excited. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locked in for the events, so you only get to see this biggest stage every 4 years. Well, guess what? FanDuel makes following the Winter Games more fun. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sport you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action, the drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. hockey games that feel different right before face-off. Even niche events become much watched when you're fully locked in. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaged, start to finish. The winter games are on. There's no better way to follow with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game, Winter Olympic style with FanDuel. Today's show is also brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone who's willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who can match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your special criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If you were hiring, wouldn't you want not just someone who can help, but someone with real experience who can jump in, saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mistakes. And with sponsored jobs, your posts get seen by candidates who actually fit. Here's an interesting stat. Companies like yours made 27 hires while we discussed this, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Job. Listeners of this show get $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. Every Monday on the show, we like to do Trends Monday. And Trends Monday is where we look at the teams in the NBA that are last 10 games. And then we like to look at the last 2 weeks and see what everyone's doing around the league. This will be so fun next year when we're actually good. Are we, what do you think of my prediction? I thought we were the 6th or 7th best team in the West now. Or at least heading into next year. Things can change, but no Jimmy Butler, where the Clippers are, all that kind of stuff. All right. Let's go to last 10 games. Sometimes you get something interesting here. I do it with you. And the first thing that's interesting is the Philadelphia 76ers are the best offense in the NBA right now. Wow. The second thing that's interesting is Detroit is number 2, which I think is interesting because the fact we've kind of been talking about Detroit is though they're this defensive, physical powerhouse team that is suddenly kind of making a run for best record in the NBA. Cleveland is 3rd best offensively. Charlotte, who's 9-1 in the last 10, is the 4th best. And then Denver, with Jokic back, is 5th. You do wonder if it's because there's a lot of Eastern Conference teams that are terrible right now as we all play. The teams that cannot score right now are Brooklyn, Washington, Orlando, and then this is interesting. Golden State is 27th offensively in the last 10 games. Indiana 26th, and then Houston is 25th offensively. Teams that cannot or that defend right now, the Knicks went from being the worst defensive team in the league to far and away the best. They had a 30-point blowout the other day too. Charlotte is number 2 defensively. We really might have ignited Charlotte's entire season with that 50-point win. Miami is number 3 defensively, who the Jazz play tonight. Detroit number 4, Oklahoma City number 5, Boston number 6. Teams that are not defending. Sacramento is 30th. Memphis is 29th. Chicago's 28th. Brooklyn's 27th. We're only 26 now. In one game, we did that. Milwaukee is 25th. Washington's 24th. No real surprise there, frankly. The only one that's really surprised is Orlando is 22nd in the last 10 games defensively. That team did not look good at all. Denver's not really defending since Jokic just gotten back. Last 10 games, the best team in the league is New York at 16.6, then Charlotte, then Detroit, then Cleveland, then Oklahoma City, and then San Antonio. But you guys watch what happened in Minnesota? Rudy goes and kills the entire team for exact same stupid speech he gave about the Jazz at some point in time about accountability, and that's the next day Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell go onto the podium and roast him. That's when our disaster was at its peak. And Rudy just did the same thing in Minnesota, and then they lost by 30 the next day because clearly they don't want to be around each other right now. Brooklyn, the worst teams in the NBA right now are Brooklyn, Chicago, Washington, Sacramento, Utah, Orlando, Milwaukee, Memphis, and Indiana. It's not great that Orlando's point differential is sitting inside of Indiana, Memphis, Milwaukee, Utah, Sacramento, and Washington. Because those teams are not incentivized to win games right now. Let's look at the last 2 weeks and see if we get anything any different. The hottest team in the league last 2 weeks is still New York, then Charlotte, then Cleveland, then San Antonio, Detroit, and Miami. So Miami has been blowing out teams in wins and barely losses. Chicago is the worst team in the NBA for the last 2 weeks. They are minus 14. Then Brooklyn, Washington, Utah, Dallas, Sacramento, and Memphis. The best offense in the NBA over the last 2 weeks, Cleveland. Interesting. That's with Harden for a game. Denver, Charlotte, Philadelphia, New York, almost all Eastern Conference teams. Something's going on there. And San Antonio, Minnesota's 7th best offensively. The worst offensive team in the league over the last 2 weeks is Golden State, followed by Utah, Brooklyn, Chicago, Washington, and Houston. And then defensively, the best teams in the league are New York, Miami, Boston, Charlotte, San Antonio, and Cleveland. So Cleveland really defending and playing well. Teams not defending: Chicago, Memphis, Sacramento, Milwaukee, Denver, and Dallas. The Jazz in the last 2 weeks ranked 20th defensively. How about that? It's a big step for us, frankly. I mean, we have been our defensive rating against Toronto was in the 82nd percentile. Our defensive rating against Orlando with Jaren Jackson was in the 81st percentile. I remember in the fourth quarter, we had a great job on the glass. And we did foul a lot that night, but that's fine. It is only the Jazz defense this year has only had, I think, 9 games all year where they are above league average. They've done it twice in the last 4 games. They did it twice in their first 2 games. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so very much for tuning in. Postcast after the game coming your direction with Ron Boone. We'll have stuff throughout the day for you as well, some walk and talks, etc. I'll head down to the beach. We'll have a little beach session here in South Beach. It's all Locked On Jazz. Thanks so much for tuning in. We now send you the first ever national. If you want to join the Everyday Club, it's lockedonjazz.supercast.com, lockedonjazz.supercast.com. We now send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel on YouTube, Locked On NBA. Also check out Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night.